Okay guys, we're jumping right into this video. So the first thing that you're going to need is a wig stand and a canvas head. You're going to need a dome cap, and this is what my dome cap looks like. I like to put the part where it's like those two lines that line up in the middle. If you all look at my canvas head, there's like a line going down the middle of it. That's pretty much what I use as like a middle part. And just put the dome cap onto the wig. You shouldn't need pins for this. It should just fit pretty snug, but just, put it on. And if you guys need to measure your heads, I suggest that too. Get some tape measure your head and figure out how big your head is. I've done this plenty of times, so I know. When I apply my frontal, I just put it a little bit in front of the cap. You don't want to put it directly where the cap is. You want to place it a little bit in front of the cap, or according to your measurements. But I put mine a little bit in front of the cap because we're going to cut that front part of the cap off anyway. Is my deep wave frontal that I got from Y-Wigs. Guys, there's like a shortage on frontals right now, so I use a deep wave frontal from Y-Wigs, and I use some body wave bundles from QT Hair on Amazon. So yeah, guys, if you want a more review on this hair, I will do an initial review, show myself installing this wig when I was done. This is just the construction of the wig because I did not want this video to be too long. So yeah, right now what I'm doing is just measuring out the frontal. You want to stretch it as far as you can. If you're doing this on a client, this is when you'll ask like your client to hold down the sides or whatever. But so the first thing I'm doing is I'm taking my T-pins and I'm pinning down the back. Use as many pins as you can. I couldn't find my pins, so I didn't use that many. So yeah, just use as many pins as you can to pin down all in the back. And then you also want to use some pins to put in the front of the lace area, not close to where your hair is. All right, so we have our frontal all braided up, and I'm just going to use a little clip. And I'm going to clip it up just so that it's out of the way, so that when we are sewing down the back of the frontal, we don't have any hair getting into it. So first thing you're going to do is, I'm still pinning down some, yeah, I'm just showing you guys how I'm putting the rest of these pins in. But you also want to thread your needles. Threading needles are really easy. You get the needle from the beauty supply store, and you just put some hair thread through it and just tie. I do a double knot. I tie a double knot at the end, and yeah, that is it. And fun fact, I hate threading needles because it's just mad annoying. Also, sorry guys, my hands look so dry, but my eczema was acting up between keep constantly washing your hand because of this freaking panoramic and hand sanitizer. My hands are so freaking dry, so excuse that. All right, so I'm going to start out with sewing the frontal. So the first thing you do is you just put it through and so that you can knot it. And I'm also pulling it so I have a little tension to make sure that it is tight. My frontal also is laying down flat, and I do have the pins in there. I just took that one pin out that we had right there so that I can start the stitching. So guys, what I do is I loop my hair because I feel like it lasts a little bit longer. So what I'll do is I'll make a stitch and I'll loop it through and then pull. Now also I would suggest for you to not make your don't make your stuff, what is this? Oh my gosh, I can't think. I'm so sorry, guys. Do not make your thread as long as I'm making mine, because I'm doing this because I'm lazy and I just don't want to make new thread. But it's easier if you do it like medium length, because it can get tangled if you do it this long, and, it'll cause you more problems, or, it's just a lot more when you got to pull it or whatever. But it also prevents you from having to thread more needles. So yeah, just pick your poison, y'all. But be careful if you're doing it really long like this. So I'm just putting it through, looping it, and then I'm also just tightening it a bit so that I can make sure that it is sturdy on the end. See, loop it over, and you just keep going through. It's pretty self-explanatory, guys. This is what I do throughout my whole head. Even when I'm stitching with my tracks, I like to go through and just do the extra loop because, like I said, I feel like it lasts a little bit longer, and that's why when I make my wigs, I don't ever have to remake them unless I'm, just trying to achieve a new style. The key is to use a T-pins to, keep the frontal flat. And it's very important that you use a lot of T-pins, especially if this is your first time around, because if you do not use this method, then your frontal can come out like really bumpy. Like when you part your scalp, it'll look like really bumpy and weird. So yeah, guys, I'm just reiterating that. I'm just going to let you guys see me sewing the rest of the frontal. I'm just going to keep going from where am I starting? I think I'm starting from the right, but whatever. From left to right, right to left, whichever one you want to do. You just go all the way straight across and just keep making sure that you stitch really close together and making sure that it's very tight and, well, not too tight, but, making sure that it is secure and that everything is closely stitched together. All right, so we are almost done sewing this frontal on. Yes. You just want to make sure you keep continuing the same looping method that we've been doing the whole time. We're going to continue doing this throughout the wig. Cannot express this enough. So yeah, what I do when I get toward the end is I'll use my scissors and I'll cut some of the thread. And I just use the looping kind of method where I'll just tie it like I'm tying my shoe. And I'll tie a knot at the end. And I'll do like 1, 2, 3 knots. And then I'll cut the remaining thread that is left from that knot. And then I just re-knot the thread that we have left over. And I use that to continue. These are my bundles from QT Hair. I got this hair from Amazon, guys. It was delivered in one freaking day. And when I was looking at reviews for some Amazon hair, because I wanted to switch it up a little bit. Also, AliExpress was kind of closed because they have the Chinese New Year. So they were closed. And I'm like, yeah, nah. Amazon for the win. But I've heard that this is like a Black-owned company. I'm not sure if I'm like completely 100% sure, but if it is, I'm definitely going to be ordering some more bundles because, period, support Black businesses, y'all. So we're going to take our T-pins once again, and we're going to use that kind of like the same way we use it as a, for the frontal. And we're going to use that to make sure that our track stays straight and like nice and tight while we sew. I only use 2. I use one in the front and then I use one at the end to kind of secure both ends down. But if you want to put one in the middle, if you want to put 6, 7, as many as you want to, guys, because this is all about preference. And as you continue to make more wigs, you'll get the hang of it more, so you won't have to use as many T-pins. But I like to use the T-pins with the tracks as well because it keeps the tracks straight. And you want to keep the same distance in between your tracks. I like to do like a 1/2 inch in between my tracks. But so the first thing I'm doing is I'm taking my thread and I'm putting it through my weft. So, guys, this is the only time that I put the needle through the actual weft. I do not do this throughout the whole head. I do it in the beginning so that I can make sure that it's like a solid foundation, and so that you can make sure that the hair is like really stuck. Also, when it comes to the ends of the hair and with flipping it over, I like to go over that part multiple times because it can be a little bit thick because I did double my weft. Now I got 226 and a 22-inch in this hair from QT Body Wave, Brazilian Body Wave. So yeah, I'm doubling the first 26-inch bundle, and then I'm going to single track the second one and single track the 22-inch bundle. So this is just the method, guys. I am going in the hair, so I go underneath the track. You guys seeing that? I go underneath the track and doing the same loop and pull method that I've been doing for the frontal. Now, when it comes to the tracks, I do not sew my tracks as close together as my frontal. I kind of leave probably like 1 inch space and then go underneath and sew, underneath and sew. You don't have to do it as close with the tracks. I don't know. I never did, but I just, yeah. You don't do it as close with the tracks. Kind of saves yourself some time. That's why I'm able to get a wig done within like 1.5 hours. So, yeah. Leave probably like 1 inch of space between the tracks. One thing that I don't do is, you guys see these 2 lines on the dome cap. I do not sew into that because I know that can unravel because that's the stitching. So try not to sew on the stitching. Like, if you guys seen, I kind of left a gap between that and I just, skipped it and just kept sewing on the other side. So try not to stitch between that because I've done that before. And over time, like, it kind of unravels and it'll leave little stringy pieces. So just continue the loop and pull until you get toward the end, and then I'm going to show you all how I flip over. So I do not cut my tracks unless I am at the very top and I feel like I need to cut them, but I like to do the flip over method because I feel like it prevents shedding, and I don't know, why cut your wefts, the free? Okay, so I leave a little bit of space. As you guys can see, I don't sew all the way to the frontal. I leave a little bit of space. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold over. So I'm going to just take that piece, put it at like a 1/2 inch on top of the first track, as you all can see. And then I'm going to use a T-pin and pin that other end down. And then we're going to focus on making sure that that folded over part is not too big and bulky. I hold it like really, really closely when it comes to this part, and I'm sewing through. Again, I'm trying to avoid sewing through the stitching of the cap, and I'm also sewing through the band, so it's a little bit tough to do this part. So you just got to apply a little pressure, baby, and you be good. So that's our first loop, and then we're going to pull and knot that really, really tight. And then I'm going to go in again. I probably do like 2 or 3 knots in the same spot just to make sure that the folded over part is really flat, because you do not want it to be like a big old bulk, or, you know. So that is why when I go to the, sorry guys, I'm tongue tied. That's why when I go toward the ends or when I'm flipping over, I make sure that that part is really, really flat so that I don't have like that weird sticking out kind of thing, kind of look. The steps are pretty repetitive, so you just want to keep going and going until you pretty much run out of the track. Then I'm going to take my second 26-inch bundle and I'm going to start it where I left off on the other track. So if I end off on the right side, I like to go from right to left with the new track. If I end out on the left side, I go left to right with the new track, just so that you can make sure that your hair is even on both sides. When I first started making wigs, I didn't think that that mattered, and pretty much it always looked like one side of my hair had more hair than the other side. It was like thicker. So I just always make sure that if I'm going right to left and I run out of hair, when I start out again, I'm going left to right. Just always start where you finish off at. So now I'm just showing you all the point where I decided to cut my weft. I'm going to show you how I cut my weft on camera, but I'm showing you all that I cut it at the very tip. Do not cut your hair, guys. Just cut the actual track. And this is what I left in the back. Like I was telling you all, I leave a little bit of space in the back just so I can go back in with the longer bundle and make it look even longer. Like when you put hair at the very tip, that is how your hair looks super, super long. And I'm just showing you all in between. It's about a 1/2 inch in between each track. It's looking good. It's feeling flat. It's not bulky. It's not one on top of the other. And our stitching looks really good. So now this is our second 26-inch bundle, and I'm going to single track this one. So I'm just going to do the same step. Like I said, you always start off where you ended. So now I'm just going to put the T-pin right in there, put the T-pin on the other side, and then we're going to start our sewing. When I single track, I like to put my tracks as close together as possible. So you know how I was telling you all that I leave like about a 1/2 inch between the first bundle that we sewed in? That's because it's double tracked and you don't want it to be bulky and just too much hair on the nape area. But when you are single tracking it, the track is going to be thinner. So I like to put it a little bit closer together, not too close together where it's like right on top of each other, but I do it where it's like back to back to back to back to back tracks, so that you can make sure that your hair does not look see-through and that everything looks good. Getting to the halfway mark, So this is where I'm going to show you all why I left that little bit of space on the side and didn't sew all the way straight up to the frontal. So now if you want to, you can take eyeliner or a colored whatever at this point, and you can make this line that I'm drawing with my finger. But it's pretty much going to be like it's just like a crescent kind of shape. But you see how we're going like from left to right? With this shape, you want to just pretty much go in the shape of the frontal. So at this point, I stopped doing the 26. I didn't cut it. I didn't do anything. I just literally stopped. I left the thread in there, everything. And I'm taking my 22-inch bundle, single track, and I am making it adjacent to the frontal. So you see, sorry guys. This is like really hard to explain, guys. I'm just so sorry. But you're making it adjacent to what the frontal is looking like. So you're going to take the pin and pin it down in that little gap that we left. And then I'm going to pin the other side down in that little gap that we left. And I'm just going to sew those two parts together. Now, a lot of people like to sew the last track to the frontal. I don't like to do that because, I don't know, I just don't. I leave like a tiny, tiny bit of space. But I necessarily don't like doing that because I feel like if you want to change out your frontal, then that means that you have to take out the last track in your frontal. So when you resew in your new frontal, you'll also have to sew in a new last track, if that makes any sense. So if you just kind of sew like a teeny, teeny, teeny bit like away from the frontal, then, you know, you don't have to worry about doing that. But I mean, at some points, I do kind of put a little bit of the lace in there from the frontal, but I don't completely like, you know, do it. So you see, this is why I'm pulling it back a little bit so I can make sure that I have a teeny bit of space in between the last track and the frontal. This is our last stitch, and I'm going to show you all how I cut my weft. Just loop and pull that, and then what I do to cut my weft is I take like a really small pair of scissors, and I'll go in and I'll go like so close to the weft and just cut it. Now, when I cut it, you want to cut it going downwards, not upwards, because I feel like that's how you get your hair in the way. And just a little tiny snip, guys, because the weft is just gonna like fall apart. Like, and once you cut it, it'll just separate itself. So that's the way that I do it. You still do get a tiny bit of shedding, of course, when you do the initial wash and you brush it out and everything. But, you know, it's just not as bad as cutting through it and just completely cutting your hair off the weft and cutting the weft off as well. Now we're going to make our knot, and then we are going to take that last track and we're going to attach it to the top bundle in a clip. So I'm showing you all, this is all that we have left to fill in. I also left some space in between the 26-inch bundles because I was realizing that I'm like, dang, this hair is really starting to fill up. And I'm like, I still want to add this fourth bundle. So I was leaving space because I was figuring like, you know, use as much bundles as I can. And then the little pieces of the 26 and stuff, I can just go back in and fill those pieces. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm just going to single track the 22-inch. And then I'm going to go in and add the 26 inches to the back pieces that I left, you know, empty, just so I can speed this process up for you guys. So I filled in the rest of the tracks, and this is what the hair is looking like. This is what it looks like after I plucked my frontal, and I did end up bleaching this frontal. You don't have to, but I was like, nah, if I bleach this, it's going to give scalp. And I was like, I need to give scalp. This is everything that came out from the shedding. Don't mind everything in the background. I was clearly packing for my trip, and I was filming another video as well. So I'm just going to put this ORS spray on here. And yeah, guys, this is just what the wig is looking like. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, you all. Make sure that you guys tell a friend and tell a friend. Make sure that you're following me on all social media platforms. And make sure that you stick around for part 2 on how I install this wig. I do have a lot of videos on how I pluck. I have recent videos on how I pluck and how I lay down my wig. So make sure that you go and check that out, guys. And don't forget to always stay luxurious.